Well, for the last 5 episodes, we've been talking about stories, the stories we create and carry about ourselves, the stories that we carry about other people. We've explored different aspects of story, and we've talked about a whole bunch of tools. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite tools, and I'll try not to get super nerdy.
Please get nerdy.
We love you, nerdy, Sandra.
We're going to be talking about human design. We're going to be talking about astrology and a system that I found online about 3 years ago. I have fallen absolutely in love, not just with the system, but the woman who brought it forward. She's absolutely amazing. Ankara Rose. I'm Sandra Wint.
And I'm Annette Garsteck.
And we are so excited to invite Ankara to this conversation on exposing the hidden realities. So let's start with Ankara. Who are you? What do you do?
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm like, it's such a big question. Who are you? It's the nicest thing. I mean, we could spend the next hour of me just kind of going down strange rabbit holes around that. Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm Ankara Rose. I am, oh gosh, I'm so many things. In this context and what we're talking about today, I think we're really highlighting my knowledge, my passion for tools, systems, strategies, modalities that help us to be ourselves, to know ourselves, to trust ourselves. And so, in that context, and probably most of my life, I'm the creator of the Success Codex. So, this system is an evolution of human design. And really, they're all related: astrology, human design, gene keys, and the Success Codex. They all actually have a root also with the I Ching. You know, I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, first in person and then all online. It's been quite the journey, the ups and downs. And, you know, once I actually found human design and the gene keys after I'm not going to call it the worst investment of my life, but I will say the hardest lesson that I learned through an out of aligned investment of my life. And I hit a complete nervous system freeze. And I realized that I was operating so far out of who I was. And then, like the way the universe miraculously works and drops something on your lap, someone randomly said, "Hey, want a human design reading?" And I said, sure. I had heard of the system. That set me down the road of falling in love with gene keys, using human design, but really falling in love with gene keys. And then realizing that other entrepreneurs like me needed these systems to be evolved and made more accessible and made more 3D, regular, no special esoteric powers needed, despite them being esoteric systems, to understand them and to actually apply them. Because there is really valuable medicine in these tools. But, you know, when they're using language that everyday people don't use, sometimes people don't recognize that they can receive that medicine. And so what came through me was translation of the most interesting part of human design, which to me is the gates and the lines, and blending that with astrology through the lens of business, entrepreneurship, and leadership. And that birthed the Success Codex. I don't know if you asked for the story of how the system came out, but that's what came out. So this is the work that I've been doing for the past several years. It's my joy. It's my passion. It is where I am such a nerd. I'm constantly evolving and bringing the system to different levels while also building a community of highly qualified people who know how to use this system without making it someone's story, without making it someone's authority. Because I believe that we're actually at a new point in evolution where if we can't help, if service providers, as coaches, as leaders, if we can't help people be themselves, we can't support that, then we're not really helping. So that's my big passion in terms of this work. Other work I do, I've been a musician pretty much my whole life. And so my husband and I have a band. We play locally. We're currently recording. We're recording another album. So we do that. I'm a mom of 2 teenagers. I have an orange tabby who typically will join me on my lap during all calls, but I locked him out today. So we'll see if he starts scratching. I might let him in. Is there anything else? Yeah. And then just one other piece is that, you know, I've been a healer for many, many years as well, like different energy modalities. And the work that's been the most powerful for me in terms of my transformation, right? So it's like one thing, you learn your human design, you learn your astrology, you see your success codex, and you can understand these pieces. But how do we actually get out of our own way enough to start living them, like enough to just experiment and see, okay, well, I learned this about myself. Is it true? Does it even fit me? Most of us, at least nerds like me, we love to learn. We want to learn everything we can about ourselves, but the learning doesn't actually create the change. It's like readiness. We're building knowledge. We need to apply it. The learning is necessary. So subconscious rewiring and nervous system regulation and somatic tools have been my best friend on this journey. The most supportive tools and modalities that I have that fit really beautifully actually with the self-knowledge of Success Codex. So that's the other piece that I weave in. That was long. So let me know what you think.
I love you. Sorry, I'll wait till you finish drinking next
Mutual.
time I
So
say that. Yeah, I think what you hit on, right at the very end is something I know and I see often. People attend a training class and they come back really excited, and then it gets really hard because it's not so easy to apply what you've learned. And you think the learning is the transformation, and it is so not.
right.
It's the awareness, right? The learning is the awareness. And then you have to decide what transformation you want from that learning and then how to apply it.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the Success Codex system, we talk about it in 3 levels. So there's information, right? And I'm gathering information, right? Something sparked my interest. I want to learn it. Step 2 or level 2 is application. Well, now this is where, rubber meets the road. This is where I'm testing and trying. And then the 3rd level is integration, right? I've refined, I've decided and found out from real life experience what works and what doesn't work. And now from that space, I'm living differently. I'm being differently, like without conscious effort. We do hit a point where the conscious work we do on ourselves crests over into this is just who I am now. And that takes time. It just does.
And I liked what you said. We often fight it too.
Yeah. 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 Because
Well, and I wonder how much of the struggle, you were saying professionals, business people, entrepreneurs, I wonder how much of that struggle, looking back at my challenges, I know that the struggle was me trying to fight the core realities of who I was instead of understanding that and working along with that. Do you see that in your work? And is that part of the reason you went deeper looking for a system?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I can go off on this, and I'll try not to because it might it might not be helpful. But the way that I see it is this: we have been told from the time that we're itty bitty children that we're not good enough. We've been shown all of the ways. Every marketing content that comes our way is pointing out something that they tell us we're missing. We don't have it down. We don't have it. We're not good enough. Something that we want is outside of ourselves. So the second that we decide we want to be ourselves, the first thing we have to do, and I think this is the conversation that you guys were having, is we have to dismantle all of the stuff that we've been told we are that actually we're not. And that is terrifying because along with, like taking on these identities and these, rules and self concepts comes a lot of belonging, comes a lot of fitting in, comes a lot of acceptable behavior. And I think many of us can agree, like fear of being kicked out of the tribe and rejected and not being loved and not being accepted that's a really powerful fear that can get in our way. So, we've got that kind of as an undercurrent. And then I think it's changing now, but for a long time, there weren't a lot of models of people who we could see and look at and be like, this person is so themselves. And it's not a coincidence, but that's what brought them to that level of success. I think that like we can see people climbing and following the rules. And then maybe like, well, now I'm going to be myself, right? Waiting until, well, once I'm famous enough, once I make enough money, once I've like climbed that corporate ladder to a certain extent, well, now I have the freedom to be myself. But I
Mhm.
want to see people climbing. Like if you're going to climb as you, right? And I personally believe that's where all of humanity is going. I think it's why we're all sick of marketing. I think a lot of us are sick of optimizing ourselves, right? This idea that like I have to make myself better by doing something, by healing something, but I love healing. I love doing, I love learning, but like I really actually just love being myself. But it's a courageous act.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. When I had my daughter, I went through well, after I had my daughter, I went through a real, what I would call existential moment, and it was because I realized I had struggled so long to have children, and I wasn't spending time with them. And I don't mean I wasn't spending time with them in the sense that they needed to become everything. It was that we were just spending so much time rushing from one place to another. I thought, well, wait a minute. That's what culminated in me actually stepping away from my full time career. But before that, there were 3 years of bargaining, anger, denial, like all those stages of grief, where
Yeah.
I realized I could tell her anything I wanted to. You can do anything you want. You can be anything you want. You can blah, blah, blah. But if I didn't embody those, that's what she was going to see. And the reality was, I wasn't embodying any of those things. My healing journey has involved gestalt and therapy and somatic work and women's circles and human design and astrology and now the Success Codex. And in every single one of those, the most impactful thing I've learned has been taught to me by Ankara, and that is it's not about doing different. It's about stepping in and embodying that energy.
Your true energy, your essence.
Yeah, because we can do anything, but who is the version of us who's doing it? Right? We can like I talk about this with just with business all the time, right? Like we can all create a funnel. You can create a funnel. Am I creating a funnel because I'm desperate for clients? Am I creating a funnel because I think if I don't have the funnel, I'm not going to make money? Am I creating the funnel because I have a deep desire to serve people? And this feels like a really exciting, aligned way to invite them into my world. And it's the same thing as climbing. Like hearing you share that really, one, I just want to acknowledge the leadership within you, right? To actually feel and then to follow, to say yes to it is my sacred responsibility to say yes to living the way and modeling the being that I want my daughter to have the same opportunities to be. I want to teach her through who I am, not what I say, not what I do. And I think it's the perfect metaphor for, to me, the highest forms of leadership are that. And I think we've been pretty scarred by a lot of leaders saying, do as I say, not as I do. I mean, we see it all the time. There's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Annette and I are going to make a whole show. It might be a year long of
The challenging leadership experiences we've been put through.
Can you just imagine what it would be like to work in an organization where from the tippy top to the absolute bottom, everyone knew and honored who they were and they honored each other in who they were. Can you just even imagine? We see this in small systems. We see it in the household too. The difference between a household where, like parents are trying to make their kids into something that they're not, and you're resentful of your partner for not being who you wish they were, and nobody knows themselves because everyone's trying to reach other people's expectations, versus like, I honor you being different than me. That's probably why we've been brought together as
Mm.
souls, right? If you believe on the soul level, or if even on the 3D human consciousness level, right? We're drawn to people who I think bring out like the potential of our best. And sometimes that best gets brought out through really challenging dynamics that ask us to be leaders, to lead ourselves.
Mm.
And sometimes it's through just like beautiful, gentle encouragement. And sometimes we have partners who do things that we think, gosh, I wish I was like that. And we think that because, we have that within us. Yeah. Sometimes we marry jerks. I don't know, but it could go either way.
I love it. Well, and I want to go to something that's kind of trendy right now.
Yeah.
We keep hearing, I want to be authentic. I want authenticity in my life. I mean, listen, if I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say that,
Yeah.
I'd be independently wealthy. So I think what we're talking about here is truly authentically finding our authentic selves. What is everybody else doing? What are those things that we chase to find our authenticity, or do we misunderstand what authenticity is? Those are not questions I specifically need answers. I'm kind of
Mhm.
wondering, Ankara, what's your perspective on this? And then these wonderful tools that you use and have developed, how can folks use that to find their answer to their questions?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so like when I first got on Substack, there was this woman who I don't even know how she got on my feed. I wasn't following her, but she's like big on YouTube, like lots and lots of followers. And she had
Okay.
like there was no responses on her Substack. Not that that matters, right? It's all about, reaching the right people, not how many. I was so triggered, or not triggered, but just like eye rolling, annoyed, judging. I was just so judging because she made some sort of comment. I'm not going to get it right, but the gist of it was it just made it seem like you have to perform authenticity to get clients. It just felt like she was saying, like, all of a sudden we made authenticity a strategy or a tactic.
Okay.
And I really disliked that. I overtly disliked it because to me, I mean, I guess however you get there, if you can get there, but to me, just I felt like it encouraged this performative, authentic, like, oh, I'm really being myself versus the full permission to really be yourself. I think
Mm.
where we fail with that is that many of us are just so uncomfortable in our own skin. We're not even ourselves with ourselves.
And often we don't feel safe to be ourselves. One of the things that I was sharing on LinkedIn this week was as we have been going through this conversation, Annette and I, there has been a ton of personal discovery that I have made. And one of the things that I posted about was this really goofy picture of my daughter and I when she was 10. She's 17 now. And I posted the one when she was 10 because I have approval to post that one, but I could have found one that we did last week. um,
The PR department has approved that
Oh,
yeah,
particular
yeah.
yeah.
image, and it's part of your intellectual property. Yes.
Yes, 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 exactly. But the point is, she and I are just naturally silly together. So we have lots of goofy pictures of the two of us. And we have a normal mother daughter relationship. I annoy her, right? We fight, we have disagreements, we have moments where I'm so embarrassing, mom. Please stop doing that. And then there are times when I do the, oh my gosh, embarrassing mom bit on purpose. And what I shared on LinkedIn was this week, as we've been going through all of these conversations and I've been listening to the recordings and I get early previews of them. I looked at that photo and what I realized was this was not a goofy picture. It is. This is what safety looks like. This is my nervous system saying, I can show up 100% as who I am. I do not need to perform. I do not need to apologize. I do not need to worry how this is going to get replayed. That's safety. That is authenticity.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of placing. I don't have a lot of places where I can that was the other revelation was that there's because of the Annette's question around authenticity, right?
Mhm.
Is it that I'm not being authentic in other places? No, I just don't feel safe to be authentic in all places.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that there's like percent, like, like there's also some wisdom. I mean, I don't know. I think there's some wisdom. I'm like, we don't want to be, not that we want to be fake, right? But
Mm.
like, there is some wisdom about like time and place. I think it's a matter of like, is it actually time and place, or am I making up something that tells me I can't be myself here? right? And like that's just testing the edges. I think you kind of gotta stick a toe across the line and be like, what happens if, right? I'm thinking of myself like, and I know that you were going to ask a question, so I'm jumping in over you, but like I think of myself as like a suburban mom, right? So like another piece of my history I didn't talk about was like I was a priestess for many years in like the divine feminine, flowy dresses, candles, sacred music artists, all that was like my absolute like identity. And then I live on a dead end, and at the end of the dead end is the elementary school that my kids go to. So I'd be like in my priestess regalia, tear it all off, throw in a tank top and like some leggings so I could look like everyone else and go pick up my kids and go like stand and see, always this edge of like, how do I be myself here? Right. And then one day I was really late and I was wearing my like priestess flowy dress and I just ran down the street to get my kids. And you know what happened? Nothing. It didn't, I'm going to curse, it didn't fucking matter, right? Like I made up that I can't be this version of myself there. But I made that up. Who cares, right? Like be who you are. Had I never done that, these two parts of my lives would have been really separate. These two parts of my one life. I only have one life. Two parts of my life would have been separate. And so I think that, whether it's because you're running late or whatever, there is an element of like supporting our nervous system when we don't feel safe. I think you're right, Sandra. I think like when we don't feel safe, what do we do when we feel safe? That's when we need the support. We either need tools that we give ourselves. We need great friends who can, we can go arm in arm across that line together, or someone across the line being like, come on, you can do it, right? But safety is a really big thing. It is a big thing. I am wondering from this conversation, like what's coming up is like, are we ever actually not authentic? Like on an existential level, am I ever really not myself? I don't know. Just a thought.
I think there's all different kinds of versions of ourself, right? Like maybe your high priestess regalia self, right? Maybe you felt some sort of way about it. Perhaps you thought, oh, this is going to be too much for the other soccer moms, or you don't want the teachers to see you like that. I could see those thoughts, those stories playing in our minds. So were you safe there? Like Sandra would probably ask you. You were, ultimately you found out you were safe there. But in your mind, you didn't know, so you didn't test.
Right.
And I think this is the limitations that a lot of super high performing career women put on themselves.
Yeah.
And it's that same story. If I go into work as my full authentic XYZ self, whatever that XYZ is for you or me or them, I won't be safe. I won't be accepted. I won't be heard. I won't be listened to. So we don't put our true self on display. So maybe it's a little bit about shrinking, or we don't volunteer in the meeting. We don't speak up. And that is a preservation limitation, I think.
Yeah.
That we put on ourselves to truly find safety at this weird place that we have to go through Monday through Friday for 9 hours. I get it. And then you did a little bit of testing, or maybe the universe helped you test, right? You're running late. You just have to go how you're dressed out to the end of the street.
Yeah.
And you did it, and you figured out this is okay. And that's what happens in our professional lives. We get to that point where we're like, I have to do something different. What is that? Or maybe I just have to step out because I'm running late, and this is the real me, and you have to deal with it.
And this is what it is. I mean, a few things coming up I'm curious about. Like one is, what are some of the qualities like and pieces of, I'm going to talk about women, that you see women holding themselves back. What is the part of themselves that they think that they're not safe to show? Like, is it the qualities that are more feminine, right? Like the sensitivity, the listening, the gentleness, or is it qualities that are actually the opposite? Like they're holding back their loudness, their fullness. I'm curious if you've seen trends or if it's across the board.
Can I jump in here for a moment?
Please.
Okay, I shared your Success Codex with Ankara for your corrected time.
Oh, my corrected time.
And I just want to say that one of Annette's feedbacks, I'm going to out her, was
Mhm.
she was too intuitive.
It's all over
Right.
your chart. Did you show her? Yes. It's all
Yes.
over your
Well,
chart.
once, so Sandra and I have been going around and around and around with my human design.
Yeah.
I don't know how long, Sandra, maybe like 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, Sandra, pieces this, pieces that. And I could go into the story. I think we talked about it in one of the previous episodes, but my mom said I was born at one time. My birth certificate says another time. My
Mm.
grandmother kept this giant book of like family facts. That says a third time. I gave Sandra that time. And
Yeah.
finally, I'm like, I'm home. That is it. That feels
Wow.
like me. That feels like my truth. And we just literally got that information like maybe 4 weeks ago.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. And so the you are too intuitive was a job that I was working in 2009. So I don't even know many of those people still, and the ones I care about I'm in touch with, and
Mhm.
they're few, very
Right.
few.
And they love, and
Um
probably the ones you're still in touch with are like, "She's so intuitive." Right?
so
You're not
I'm
gonna keep the other
literally
ones.
yeah, I'm literally sitting in this meeting. My direct manager had been promoted and I had applied for that person's position.
Mhm.
And we're sitting at the desk and they have just told me that they've hired someone else for the position. That was not me, obviously.
Mm, mm.
And I was like, okay, so is there something that I can do? Is there something I can work on? Are there questions I didn't answer? Right. Asking a lot of questions. I was much younger than I am now.
Mhm.
I was still thinking I could change something about myself to be the right kind of whatever they needed, right?
Mhm.
And he literally said to me, "Oh, well, we find that you're too intuitive." And so literally it smacked me in the face. And I didn't know why then. I clearly know why now. And I was like, so are you saying that the anecdotal stories that I tell you about literally a department that runs on stories, I was a customer service manager, are those the problems that you want to talk about? Like what data do I not supply about the problem? I
Okay.
literally ran a Gemba walk every week. Like you want data, it's like on that Bill honking billboard across from my desk. And he didn't have a clear answer for me. And that's when I knew I'm in the wrong place.
Yes.
Clearly, I am in the wrong place. And within 3 weeks, I was out. I was somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the best part of that story, Ankara, Sandra, I don't even know if you know this story, is I'm trying to resign because I was supposed to be training my new boss that was replaced me. That was a total farce.
Mm.
And it is literally the second Friday that person should be reporting to work. He had left early the first Friday. And I knew that. Nobody else knew that, but I knew that. And so this is the second Friday. It is 2 p.m. I'm trying to leave effective immediately. That's what was written on my letter. And I cannot find this person. And so I have to walk into the HR person's office. I said, I'm trying to have an important conversation with my boss. I've messaged, I've called. This person is nowhere to be found. And she says, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm like, well, here's my letter of resignation. I'm leaving effective immediately. I'll stay through the end of the day. I'll make sure the department is shut down.
Mhm.
And literally that is it.
And that's it.
And and that's it. And so she's not understanding, but trust me, she tried to get a hold of him for the rest of the day and had no success either.
I'm
And
sure.
then Monday morning, and I'm gonna out myself here a little bit, Sandra, with my age. We were talking about outing ourselves with the things we say about our age, and I don't care. But I get a call on my answering machine, literally my answering machine tied to my home landline. Like,
Leave a message
hello,
at the tone.
this is so and so. This person had my cell phone number because they had called me on it multiple times in their 2 weeks of hire. I'm so sorry to hear what happened. You're not. You literally left a message on the one place you knew you would not find me. I don't think you're sorry. And that was just became a hugely defining moment
Yeah.
of who I was versus who people wanted me to be, and
Mm.
that I was clearly in the wrong place. And those are the problems that I think career professionals have. Those are the problems that my coaching clients have because there's a mismatch. I don't think it naturally is one or the other. They're just in the wrong place for who they are. And it comes out with a change of leader or a change of home life where, like maybe the kids are off at school or maybe the kids
Yeah.
are home from school. And there's
Right.
this epiphany that, like Sandra had with her daughter, I'm not living how I want to be that role model, or I don't have to be that role model anymore and I can do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So there's usually a change that happens somewhere in their life. I won't call it a midlife crisis because it happens at any time.
Mhm.
And where they are in the moment becomes this moment of, I am not where I need to be.
Yeah. And I just feel like more and more that's going to happen because I
Yes.
feel like where we've been collectively has been cookie cutter, fitting in. And where we're going is individuation. It's people being themselves, working towards a common goal, working in an organization with a common goal, but not as a nameless, personalityless, passionless, authenticless, not that that's a word, covered, filtered human, as a fully expressed person, bringing our own genius, bringing our own gifts, bringing our intuition, bringing our practicality, whatever we bring. But that's actually what makes an organization rich. That's what makes the world rich. So I think that's like part of the gift of, is it it's not the millennials, Gen Z,
Gen Z.
Gen Z that like goes into work and they're just like, oh, I'm not going to come into work every day. Are you fucking kidding me? Right? And it's just like, yeah, we're, us as older ladies are like, yeah, we're not going to go to work every day either. No, but like, there's a freedom. There's a freedom that this younger entitled, right? We can call it entitled, but I think it's freaking great. I think
It
it's great.
is.
It's all part of the process of the collective changing. We need pushback. We need the systems to crumble, but we need people who have strength of self, groundedness of self, so that the whole ground doesn't leave underneath our feet, right? When the whole world and all the systems are changing and the structures are changing and the rules are changing, the only thing we can actually count on is ourselves. And I don't mean we can't count on each other. I'm not talking about it in terms of that. I'm saying that is the ground beneath our feet. For me, the Success Codex has been that. And the irony is it became that after I made it. The system came through. I had no idea, and I mean it. I really had no idea that it would impact people the way it did. I had no idea it would impact me the way it did. I had no idea if it worked, if it made any sense. I did a lot of testing, but it's been years. Now I have years of feedback and having people come and say, it just gave me permission. The permission for whatever reason, I just struggled to give myself permission to be myself. And looking at that and seeing who I am as gifts and not problems, that all of a sudden I started to say, this is a gift. I am going to lean into it. And I do feel safe enough within myself to try. Right. So yeah, that's my vision is a world where people just trust themselves. I always say my real mission is just to help humans enjoy being human a little bit more. Like it's so basic, but I don't know how we can do that if we're living other people's stories and living in conditioning and, chasing other people's dreams.
One of the ahas that I had this week was related to the way I process new learnings. So by the end of last week, I had approached kind of like an aha moment related to something I had been processing for a while. And then I thought I was settled. And then Monday, I was like back at it again, asking more questions, looking at, well, what if we look at it this way? And what if we look at it that way? And Shannon, who you know, Ankara, will sometimes tease me like, why are you doing this again? I thought we had put this to bed. And what did I look at Monday afternoon? I pulled out my Success Codex and my Pluto, which is rebirth, it's part of transformation. My Pluto is 64, which is processing. It's continuing to refine and clarify and clarify and why and why and why. And I can't tell you how many times I have been told, stop asking so many questions. It just is. But why? But why? I don't understand. Just accept it. What can't you understand? It's who I am.
Yeah. I'm going to take it in a weird direction, but it feels parallel to me. So I'm going to go with it. Right. So one of my other nerdy obsessions is perimenopause because I'm going through it. So
Oh
I
my
became, so, so I became,
God, we're obsessed.
okay. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I'm in good company. I just got certified as a menopause doula and I've started to run these like workshops because I was like, I just want to bring this to like local women. So one thing I learned about our brains pre our reproductive years and post our reproductive years is that when we are estrogen dominant, which is our entire reproductive years, our brains orient towards others, right? So we filter our decisions through how they impact other people. How are other people going to take it? Right. And I have so many friends who have sat there and beaten themselves up for being people pleasers. And then they hit perimenopause and then they beat themselves up even more for being people pleasers. And I'm like, your brain was literally wired to be a people pleaser. Our species would not have survived had you not been able to attune to the needs of others. Did we take it too far in a patriarchal world? Yeah, probably. Right. But the point is, we can't beat ourselves up for our nature. There's a reason for it. There's a gift in that, right? Sandra, you asking why and asking why, there's a gift in that. Now, if it teeters over into now this is getting in my way, I'm asking why instead of remembering and realizing that I actually already do know a lot, then we want to pull it back. We want to pull back the reins a little bit. But in general, our nature is our nature. I recently calculated how common it is for people to have the same exact success codex. And I can't say I can't speak the number because it's too big. It's 384 to the 12th power. Type that in your calculator and you won't even get an answer because it's too big. We are so unique. Why are we trying to be like other people? Like way smaller chance than the number of humans there are on the planet because it's not just the birth and time, it's the exact location. And minutes change it too, right? So it is so rare. It's so, so rare. Why are we trying to be like someone else? We just lean into this is mine. Thank you, God, goddess, universe, whatever you believe in. Mama, thanks, mom and dad, right?
Well, and I have twins. They're born
Mm. Yeah.
they're born 1 minute apart.
Mm.
So,
Mhm.
location, right?
Mhm.
Birthday,
Mhm.
time,
Mhm.
they are pretty much identical. They're astrologically, there's
Mhm.
only, a couple of minutes or of degree
Yes.
for a couple of signs, but
Yes.
really for the big stuff, same. And
Mhm.
they could not be two different people in the
Yeah.
whole world.
Yeah.
In fact, my husband will often say, "How can they be so different when they were like they're," and I'm like, "Because they're two individuals." And so I've
Yes.
spent a lot of time trying to figure out how can they have the very same astrological information, the same natal chart. I think we've talked about this in this series around story. That is a story that we carry, right? That they have to be similar or they have to be the same or they're and one
Mhm.
of the, data points that I read, and I don't remember where I read it, so I can't credit the person who said it, but it's like cake. All cakes have flour, they all have baking soda, they all have you put them in a pan, they all mostly have some kind of emulsifier, whether it's eggs or applesauce or flaxseed. The whole point is you use the same ingredients, but you come out with a very different product.
Yeah.
And so even for people who have a very similar
Mhm.
codex, they're
Mhm.
still very different, and then you add in life experience on top of that,
I
right?
I love this. I have twin cousins and it's the same. The only thing, like, I think their flow changes, their impression changes, and maybe their leadership changes a little, right? Because these are things that change minute by minute in astrology. And this is exactly why you will hear me say all the time, and some people say, "Are you undermining the system that you created?" But I'm not. We are more than any system. This is why you can't go to an astrologer or a human design reader or a success codex specialist and say, "What should I do with my life?" And you can't think, who's my ideal client? Because who we are, what we do, our mission, our way of understanding the world, our way of being in the world, it's there's no map that can show us those pieces. We could understand propensities that we have, but it's the same way like your two kids, right? One could be a plumber, one could be the president. They're still bringing themselves through the work that they do. And I also think, I mean, maybe it's different with art. They're not identical. Are they
They are
identical?
not identical.
Right. So like I don't know how it works with identical twins, but certainly like, my twin cousins, like one totally takes after her mom, the other totally takes after her dad, right? So there I think other pieces of lineage are coming through each one,
Yes.
right? Potentially like different themes and personality types. So I just, again, like we can't make something outside of ourselves our authority.
No.
Because if we do, we're letting it tell us the stories that shape who we are and how we know ourselves.
And I love that because that's exactly where we've landed in this whole conversation around story is what are you making the story mean?
Yeah.
It's not so much that there is a story, it's the meaning that you're attaching to the story. And that is, I'll say my favorite acronym, OPC, other people's crap,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think the other point that you're getting to is a question that Annette has asked me that I haven't yet come back to answer her on. And that is, what is the role of free will in all of this? If we're looking at somebody's natal chart and we're saying, this is what was true, and there's so much resonance, right, and congruence with kind of what our story is, then what's the point of free will? I'll let you answer it because I have not responded to Annette yet.
Yeah. I mean, this is just speaking off the cuff. I mean, I think free will is the whole point. I think, we're given the ingredients. What kind of cake do you want to make? I think that that's the whole idea. And like, by the way, there are all kinds of like, I mean, not to go like into the weeds of astrology, but every year on your birthday, you have a solar return chart. You have a new chart that you could be looking at and operating through, right? We go through these big lifetime changes, Uranus opposition, Saturn return, and Pluto return, right? Like where we have these big rebirths. We could do a chart on that. Now that's who I am, right? Every single day, every single planet that's in the sky and the sun light up different things for the collective, and that impacts our personal chart. Every minute in our chart is different. So I always say, like for people who have like your story of like, I had a different birth time, whatever time you had, did whatever it did, like it served whatever purpose it was, right? Even if the purpose was, that's not quite right. That told you something about yourself. It's why when someone looks at their success codex and they say, I don't know if I like that word. I don't think I would describe myself with that word. I say, fantastic. What word would you describe yourself with? Because the purpose is not for you to believe in the dogma of the chart. The purpose is for you to know yourself, right? So it all comes back to that. We have these ingredients that we get to work with if we choose. Hey, guess what? People have been wildly successful and horrible failures since all of time until the Success Codex was created. We can survive without it. I know that maybe I'm like shooting off my own foot as it's my own system, but I just want to be honest about it. That's why I can say, and I know, and I love human design too. I have used it incorrectly and I've seen hundreds, I don't know, thousands of people use it incorrectly. Use it as a new set of rules that now I'm stuck operating in. Oh, I'm a projector. I can't do it. I have to wait. Right? Oh, I have to listen to my sacred. All these have tos. That's not what the system was made for, right? So I can say truly, at least if you're using the system the way that I've been training people to use it, right? If you go to a certified, trained, vetted Success Codex specialist, you're going to have someone who's genuinely empowering you. and not encouraging you to create a new set of rules out of this. It's not, again, it's like it's a springboard. Our free will can dance free because we've got this beautiful springboard for it to like jump, leap off of.
One of the things that we did talk about often, I'm going to try not to editorialize here. Often we will approach somebody with a problem and they will say, you need to do X or you need to be more this. And one of the stories that we talked about was we tend to say women are bossy or little girls can be bossy, right? And
Mm,
so Annette was saying, I've embraced that. So, Sandra, if you came to me with this problem, I would tell you to put your bossy pants on and get back in there and fix that problem. And I said, well, and that's part of the problem because for me, I never incorporated the it's a good thing to have bossy pants.
mm,
For me, being told that I had bossy pants was really a triggering thing. And so if Annette were to tell me, go put your bossy pants on and go back in there and do this, I would be engaging in energy that is not in alignment and
mm,
would not serve me.
mhm.
And I think that's part of the challenge that you speak to when you say, when we look for external validation.
Yeah. And it's part of our changing role as mentors and guides and coaches and leaders is to be aware that what works for us might not work for others. Right? And that's just a learning process and that there's a lot of unlearning with that because all of us have been taught to do everything pretty much the same way. Here's the
Yes.
trajectory. Here are the steps. Follow my 6 easy steps to make $1 million, right? We've been told how to do things the same way. Very few of us have been taught the skills of helping people to extrapolate their own self-awareness and knowledge, right? I mean, in a real coaching program, you're not advising, you're asking questions that can help people. And same thing with therapy, right? Like in the purest sense. I mean, sometimes we go to someone for advice. But to me so I have a big thing about consent and you've heard me talk about this a lot, right? So I'm very intuitive, but if I have a session with someone before I share the intuition I ask for consent. I have a lot of opinions and thoughts. I've tried a lot of things. I've learned a lot of things the hard way. I know a lot of shortcuts. But before I tell someone, I'm going to ask them consent. And to me, that's enough where you still get to have your opinions and you still get to be your own bossy pants, right? Like you still get to wear your own bossy pants without making yourself someone else's authority. Now, if the person coming to you is really in their sovereignty, they're really in their personal power, then they can take your direction, your advice, solicited or unsolicited, consent or without consent, and they can take it as information that they can then be discerning with. But when we have clients, right, and this is up to us as the leaders to know, are my clients or my team, if we're talking an organization, is this someone who can take what I'm saying and use discernment with it? Or am I encouraging them to just do what I say? We're done with do what I say leading. I just think we're done with it. I mean, not that it's this tricky edge because you'd be really correct. Your opinions and what you think someone should do can be absolutely correct. But are they safe? Do they feel safe enough to do it? Are they ready to do it? I don't know. Right. So I think that, this whole conversation has been really, really beautiful and such a great reminder for me, right? Just to be talking about this, again, I'll call it like a sacred responsibility that we have to be aware of the impact that we make, not hold ourselves, right? This is not an invitation. It's like, oh, I'm bossy. I better not be my authentic self because someone can just ask for consent. Just in the beginning of the relationship, say, hey, I like to give a lot. I have a lot of opinions and I might give advice and you don't have to take it. If I give you advice and you don't like it, let's talk about that. full permission to push back, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that we can do that can make it safe for people and actually help them to build the muscle of being discerning in the face of authority, right? Which a lot of us, it's kind of scary. So yeah, thank you for this conversation. It's good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So, how can our listeners get a hold of you, Ankara, if they'd like to connect with you further?
Okay. Well, first of all, if you don't know your birth time at all, reach out to me because I have little tricks to kind of help you if we have like a window. But if you know your birth time, date, and location, I just tell everyone go to freesuccesscodex.com. So FREE success, and then codex is CODEX.com. Type in your birth info and make sure to click the red button and download the PDF, and you're going to get your own success codex. Like that's number one. You'll be added to my mailing list from there. I'm not a big newsletter person. Most of where I'm hanging out now is on Substack. So if you just look up the Success Codex on Substack, you're going to find me as well. I'll share that link. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but those are the best places to go to kind of start to get a feel, hear conversations like this every Friday. I didn't do it today because get a cancellation, but most Fridays I do a live Success Codex reading on Substack, so you can actually see like what does it look like when someone's bringing the real life challenges and how we can work through those with the Success Codex.
If you too are at the point where you are interested in learning more about your authentic self and have a tool to help you do that, then please go ahead and join our newsletter at exposingthehiddenreality.com, where Sandra and I talk about all kinds of good, interesting things